I guess what was really frustrating for me at that time was we were so young. We were not, financially stable. I was a student in that sense. I didn't have the knowledge or the expertise to help him heal. And so I think, losing a loved one so early on in life is devastating. And I think for me, that was really where, things changed for me and what I looked at health.
Mary Cristine is the award-winning gut specialist here in the Middle East, as well as the visionary founder of Be That Life podcast, Be That Life Summit, and Be That Dish. And above all else, she managed to always make sure she inspires others by letting them know more about their own bodies and helping them find vitality and purpose. Mary, welcome to the Now.
I am so honored to be here, Erwin. It's so fun to do this with you.
Thank you for being here. Besides everything that you are above anything else, such a good person to me for hosting us here in Dubai and being really somebody that I look up to in everything that you do and the things that you've done as you've moved forward in your life. So thank you for being my inspiration.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love hearing that from good friends.
Let's start at the beginning. How did gut health come into your life, and how did the wellness world come into your life?
I think for everyone, we have a story, and it wasn't really just one thing that made me shift into this whole interest of gut health. It was really a series of experiences, I would say. And one of the main ones was losing my father to cancer. And at such a young age too, because it's like having a parent that was your best friend. And I was fortunate enough to have someone like that in my life who really was my role model and someone who was my mentor I looked up to. And I was just in a space of graduating from university at that time when we found out that he had cancer. And they found it quite late, at the point where he was already stage 4. And we tried to save him. And, I guess what was really frustrating for me at that time was we were so young. We were not, financially stable. I was a student in that sense. I didn't have the knowledge or the expertise to help him heal. And so I think, losing a loved one so early on in life is devastating. And I think for me, that was really where, things changed for me and what I looked at health. I already grew up in a home that was quite healthy because my mom, being part Spanish and Filipino, she's raised to really farm to table kind of produce. So she knew what it was to eat better. On the flip side of that, I grew up with a father that just was the opposite of that. And he, he used a lot of the addictions to help him cope with stress and the responsibilities. So I lived in an environment where I had two complete polar opposites of ways of living and upbringing. So for me, it was like so, let's just say, I don't know, I think it was more like I found it such a massive shock when I lost him so early on, when for me, like health and vitality and the way I lived was just, I thought that was the normal way to live, But on the flip side of that, it was, when you're a child growing up in such an environment, you don't know any other way. So if, for example, you grow up in a home where you're always healthy and you didn't have a parent that smoked or drank alcohol, you're always going to think that that's the right way to live. However, if you grew up in a home where it was complete opposite of that and you had a father who drank alcohol every night or was a chain smoker and you had parents who were constantly fighting, you grew up in an environment thinking that was the norm. So I grew up in an environment thinking that, smoking and drinking was kind of like normal in homes, because my father just did that every single day. And he, although he was like the best dad ever and the best father, he had something that I just thought like, okay, every father did that.
Would you agree, or would you say that losing your father was the biggest challenge of your life?
One of the biggest challenges for sure. I wouldn't say it's the biggest, but definitely one of the biggest at such an early stage of my life because I was still trying to navigate my own. Definitely losing my father was a massive shift in the way and I looked at life and the perspective I had on living.
Was there, you said it was one of the biggest challenges. What was another one?
I was a young mom, so I had a son also at the age of 22, and at the age of 6, he developed a neurological disorder. And when I took him to the hospital to kind of like figure out what the problem was, they diagnosed him as having a mild form of Tourette's. And you know, as a mom, so as a young mom, for me, you know, my faith in conventional medicine already was very little because of losing my dad so early on, and you know, him doing his regular checkups and then finding it so late. I didn't believe and trust in the system, and I didn't believe that what my son had was what they diagnosed. But the issue was when he was doing these motor tics, and I don't know if you know much about motor tics, and I never grew up in an environment like that. So he was doing like these uncontrollable movements, like all day, every day. It would be like 1 to 50 to 100 to thousands a day, and it would be points where it would be like hurting him. But he was so young, he didn't know what they were. And me as a mom would always just be like, why are you doing that? So I would just tell him to stop doing that every time. But then the research shows the more you force them to stop what they don't know they have, the more that they do it. You know, it becomes like this opposite reaction. And because he was so young, he didn't even know that he was doing those things. He just was like feeling pain. You know, but the more I'd pick on it and the more I'd mention it, the more he would try to resist it, the more he would do it. And then it became vocal tics. So it was never like abusive words, but he would just do like these weird sounds. So I would actually have to take him out of school. It got to a point where he was getting bullied. And, you know, he started losing confidence. He started coming home crying. The kids would attack him at school, like think he was different. And he started like thinking he was different. So I had to pull him out of school for a year. And it was really hard because as a mom who tried to do all kinds of research online to find ways to heal what he had, I started seeing that a lot of the kids who develop, you know, motor tics or neurological disorders at such a young age have a deficiency in magnesium, and in zinc. So I tried to up his dose on magnesium. I tried to change his diet. I tried to do so many different things, but he really got worse before he got better. So it took me 2 years of trying all sorts of different crazy modalities to heal. And then one day I discovered this vitamin component that just really changed the game, because it went from him doing crazy amount of tics to him doing none at all. And my further research into that is I realized that there are certain vitamins and minerals and drugs that people use for other things that can actually treat other things without even realizing that it's treating that. So the component of this vitamin had a calcium, magnesium, and zinc all together, but the combination of the doses of that really just dramatically stopped what he had. But we know what the issue was for me, and where I was like, had this massive scare, is because the internet and where you read it and all of these information say that if he didn't progress or heal from motor tics or whatever he had by the age of 13, it would be full-blown Tourette's. And that for any mother would just never want that. So for example, like, do you know Louis Capaldi?
Yep.
The singer?
Yep.
You know, and it became like widely known that he has Tourette's.
Yep.
And it became even like a bigger deal because he was going on stage and couldn't manage you know, singing there for such a long period because his Tourette's would take a huge control of that. And for any parent who is experiencing that with their children, you know, aside from they don't want their children to suffer, it's an ongoing suffering for any parent to watch their child suffer from that. So I think aside from my father going through, you know, what he went through and then losing him, it was really this that really changed everything for me. Like how I viewed gut health, how I viewed the gut microbiome, how I viewed diet, how I viewed, you know, the kind of things that you give to your children, how it would affect them and their health.
Were you getting any, I guess, backlash from just these suggestions that you had or things that you researched, and as you would whether help advise other people or just recommend some of the stuff that worked, was there others that looked at you and said, like, you know, who are you and why are you saying these things? Like, what's your actual background?
Yeah, so the thing is, like, when my son had that, I wasn't in the health space yet. I wasn't doing what I was doing, only launched my business about 7 years ago. So prior to that, I was just in corporate space. I worked in law firms for over 10 years before I took up certifications and studied to what I do today. And at that time, you know, I kept a lot of my own knowledge and whatever I, you know, researched and helped my son with to myself. And it was just mainly towards my, you know, my immediate family and friends who really understood this, but it wasn't like I was vocal about it on social.
Yeah. What gave you the courage to move forward and say, you know what, others need to know. And I say, if it's helped your son, if these things that you've learned and even anecdotally that's occurring within your own family is something that's beneficial, not just to you, but to many others. What gave you the courage to say, you know, people need to know?
You know, conventional medicine system is broken. And we speak about this all the time from a functional perspective, from functional doctors, functional nutritionists, people who are against a lot of conventional medical ways. And, you know, I guess this is a topic of interest for you too, because you're a doctor, yeah? And you also studied a lot of the things that you did to help a lot of the people that you've helped. You know, countries like the US and Europe, like, you know, a lot of the other countries in the world are still following what they're doing, you know, what they're teaching. They've been around for so long. They have way advancements in technologies than so many other countries in the world. So sure, we look to them for advice. A lot of people in the Middle East, when they go through any health-related things, they still send their family members over to the US to get treatment there, to Canada, to parts of Europe, because they have way specialized doctors than, for example, you'll have in the region, you know. And for me, it was more like, if I was able to help my son heal, aside from what conventional medicine has taught us or diagnosed him with, there are other methods to heal from the root cause of disease. And I heavily got into Ayurveda and studied traditional Chinese medicine. And I focused on ancient wisdom and ancient knowledge of healing. And I see it all the time from, you know, my friends who are losing their parents to cancer, or another who's having an autoimmune disease or eczema, or, you know, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or friends who can't conceive. I see it day in and day out. And, you know, their struggles with the conventional way of doing things, and their struggles with doctors who are giving them no hope to heal. And I believe that if you truly understand ancient wisdom, you can heal by understanding the human anatomy, the body, and you know, the certain medicines you would say, like, you know, herbs and non-pharmaceutical drugs that can totally change the way that your microbiome health is, your mental health, and make you heal from the inside out, because the human body is a healing mechanism. It's what we do, we heal. But the problem is society has programmed us into thinking that it's a pill for an ill.
Pill for an ill. I like that. That's a little rhyming situation. The personal experience that you've had, what was the tipping point for you to then create a business out of it? You've already talked about you were in a different space in the past. You went and studied and learned. But then what was the point when you said, you know what, I think I need to make this a business?
So 7 years ago, I launched my brand, Be That Life. And Be That Life was primarily a coaching platform for high achievers. So it's high net worth individuals, CEOs, entrepreneurs, because I wanted to create impact. And in order to create true impact, is you want to be around people that have influence. And if you can transform their lives, they will be able to transform the way that they hire employees in organizations, that the way that they treat their employees, and also the way that they build relationships and their communities outside of the workspace. That went really well. I met some incredible people. I networked with some of, the most incredible billionaires, millionaires, inspiring people in the world. And the one thing you learn about that is no matter how much money you have in the world, when you get sick, there's no amount of money that can help heal you. And I've experienced that with some of my clients as well, where they've come to a point where they developed chronic illness, where they've tried so many things and it couldn't save their organ. So you come to a realization and a point in your life. It's like, where do you want your impact to go to? Like at what level? And for me, it was always global. I never felt I never wanted to be the kind of person that was constrained to a region. I wanted to be able to, share my story to a lot of other mothers who are experiencing the same things with their kids, to be able to provide my knowledge and my expertise and the transformations I've done for people on a global scale, because we all have personal stories. And based on our personal stories, people relate to that and they follow based on things that they relate to. A lot of people follow you on social media, or Jay Shetty or Stephen Bartlett, and whoever expert that we are more inclined to because of the relatability factor, we follow.
Yeah.
And I've just been fortunate enough that I've managed to build a community of mothers, of fathers, of people, aspiring mothers, CEOs, entrepreneurs who follow me not just for the journey of success, but also like, wow, she's in her 40s and she's been able to stay healthy. She looks good. She hasn't had a chronic illness. She's raised a 21-year-old son and still been able to build the business and still look the way she does and still have the energy and the vitality. So I think, like anyone in the world, we're all looking for purpose, right? And for me, my purpose was when I discovered working with people was the most fulfilling thing I ever did. I found that I could transform these multi-millionaires and billionaires' lives when I would look up to these people and be like, how could I build what you've built? And now they sit there and they look up to me, So for me, it was more like, this is incredible. Like we're all an expert in some space. And I believe that the people who have really made success in life are always the ones that are always learning and realize that they're not an expert in everything, and that you will always hire an expert to teach you what you need in every aspect of your life. And I believe true wealth is really in the knowledge and not in the amount of money you gain.
Where did Be That Life come from? I mean, that phrase in itself, it's everything that you have. The summit, the podcast, the brand, the coaching program. I say this because if you try to acronize that or acronym it, you'd be like BTL, but then if you flip it around, you can BLT, which is bacon, lettuce, and tomato. But where did that come from?
Yeah, so Be That Life is literally that. I mean, I'm sure it means so many different things to so many different people. But when I sat with a group of friends thinking about what I wanted to call my brand, it was a lot of brainstorming. It was like me sitting there and looking at every single inspirational person that I follow online, and I wanted that life. I sat there thinking like, what is it that I can embody from these people and also learn from myself and my experiences that can really create a massive impact for people? And we came up with Be That Life, because all we want to do as human beings is we want to attain that life. And whatever that vision board that people have in their homes of the kind of life that they want to live, whether it's an incredible house, the best relationship, become the best parent, the nicest car, travel the world, become an influencer, like whatever it is, we all have the vision board, and it's that life we're always chasing, dreaming, wanting to build. So that's where Be That Life was born.
I like it. I like that you guys were sitting down with a bunch of friends. I'm surprised that none of your friends said, why don't you just say Mary Cristine? Why don't you just not you? Well, what stopped you from just making it, I guess, a brand that reflected your own name, but rather a goal or a direction, which is what Be That Life is?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's also like, in the UAE, you can't actually start any business without having a business. So you need to actually register your company and, you need to register an entity to be able to launch something here and be like a legitimate business.
Okay.
And I didn't really want to call my business Mary Cristine on paper, so I think
from a logistical standpoint.
yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I of course we all want to operate as our personal brand. But I think also in this region, it just works so differently than it does in many other countries, because I wasn't just coaching anyone. I was coaching people that are extremely successful.
Yeah.
And people that are extremely successful want to be around people that are credible, which is just normal.
Yeah.
But credibility obviously comes with experience, it comes with transformations, it comes with being known for something. And when you're starting your business and you are not known for anything yet, I didn't want to just be Mary Cristine. I wanted to be a company that was really like focused on holistic nutrition, holistic well-being, and then the personal brand came after that.
Speaking of which, you talk about the holistic well-being. What's your own holistic routine?
Okay. I have phases, so it varies, like what it was in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, it changes. And I would say, it's the same for everybody. So obviously now that I'm in my 40s, the things that
Looking stunning in your 40s.
Thank you so much.
Way.
I
Just
appreciate
let you know
that. Yeah, in my 40s, obviously, I care about things very differently than what I cared about in my 20s and 30s. And now that I'm approaching menopause, and this is such an important topic, by the way, for a lot of women these days, or even just in general, is that, the way that I care about myself from what I consume mentally, which is, by the way, number one, is very different from what I cared about in my 20s and 30s. So obviously right now it's all about energy. So I'm very careful of who I associate myself with, the kind of energy that I want to draw and to emit and attract. Because if the kind of energy that you're always consuming is negative, you're always going to be attracting negativity. And if you're in a space that is always either emitting great energy and attracting great energy, you're always going to be in an energy field of great positive energy. And I don't want to be in an environment or in a space that always is breathing negativity, because negativity breeds disease.
Yeah.
And I know this for a fact because I had people in my family who developed disease, my father being one of them, because he refused to talk about his problems. And that's the one thing that I would always, teach my son, is that if you want to, grow up healthy, you need to always be able to speak about your problems. So one is make sure that I'm always surrounded by positivity, for sure. So I like to start my morning positive. I don't like to read anything negative. I always want to be, I always, either whether I receive a negative either comment or something I see online, I always program my mind to see that as a positive, narrative instead of such a negative narrative.
Framing it in a certain way.
Yeah, I frame it better. I start my day like that, and I'm always happy. So even though I receive a lot of negative things during the day, I'm always reframing my mindset. And it's not so bad. I can always do something better to fix that. So definitely that's my number one, wellness routine, holistic wellness routine. The second is, most of our body comprises of water. So hydration is extremely important. So drinking a lot of water throughout the day is vital, but also I'm a massive tea drinker. So I love drinking tea. I have so many different varieties of tea at home. I love hibiscus tea. I love green teas. I love curcumin. Whenever I start my day, I always make sure it is in a place of zero inflammation in the human body. What does that mean? Is that I have a drink that I like to drink first thing in the morning, which is turmeric, so curcumin, turmeric, and pepper. I mix that with some moringa powder, and I just drink it as a shot. I like doing that because if you start your day with less inflammation in your body, you know that you're not developing these crazy spikes throughout the day, which then gives you way bad decisions throughout the day when it comes to your food intake. which you don't want either.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. That's another thing. And I sleep very early. So as you would know, we've been living in the same home together, and I'm not really a late sleeper. I like to, be like hyper focused throughout the day. So if I would, be working on something, I can spend hours doing that. And then I am really good at winding down by like 8 p.m. and by 9, 10 p.m. I'm in bed.
Yeah.
I'm not on my devices. I schedule a lot of my posts on social media. So, we're content creators. So I'm not like, thinking about my posts. And like, I like to schedule my posts throughout the week. So even if, someone sees a post of me at like 6 in the morning, or I'm posting at like 11 in the evening, these are scheduled posts. It's not actually me posting them. And people, because sometimes they message me online, they're like, you're still awake. But actually it's just like, I have systems for everything.
Yep. Yeah. So going back to there, so number one is making sure you're surrounded by positive people as you start your day, present company included.
Yeah, of course.
Number two, taking the shot, this concoction that you have as you start your day for inflammation, decreased inflammation. And three, sleeping early. These are just simple things that everyone can do. And I think people overthink it sometimes of how to really start your day good, to keep you in the zero inflammation space, so to speak. The one thing I do admire about you is that you're very good at setting boundaries, even as it comes to social events and meeting with people. Very blessed and thankful to be able to like have you host me and Kika and this past couple of weeks. It's been such a joy to see you IRL, so to speak, on a daily basis. And what I've always admired is that the boundaries that you set, if it doesn't feel right for you to attend something or do something, you don't overthink it, get FOMO, because your number one priority is you. When did that come to you, that realization that, all these things can go on, I don't need to be there? Sometimes it's hard for people to get rid of this FOMO. What began your JOMO journey, which is the joy of missing out? How did that start for you?
Age.
Don't tell everybody secrets, yeah?
That's pretty much the answer. I think it's just it's age and experience, and the things that you can have and shouldn't have, and the things I want to prioritize. So for me, if I'm like on a bender every single night of the week, I know that if I have something happening the next day, I'm never going to be operating in my optimal. And I'm very good at listening to my gut intuition.
Yeah.
And because I'm so mindful and really good at that, I know when it's time to take a break. And I know when it's, time to be going out and socializing and having fun. But I think that's the same across the board for everybody. I know a lot of people, I guess we still have a lot of common friends who at our age still love to party and go out and socialize and do all of those things. And of course, to each their own, but I would say it's still a minority of the people that love to do that kind of stuff. And the majority are more really inclined to, when they're tired, they're tired, how much more can you cross and stress yourself out? So, yeah, I for me, have experienced such a colorful life, and I've done so many fun things. So I'd rather miss out on some things and just be a part of others, because I know what those experiences will be like. It's no different.
I'm fascinated about where the world of gut health and biohacking and functional health is coming, particularly this year, 2025. Where do you think the future of gut health is going to go to?
I believe the future of gut health will be in personalization.
Personalization. Okay.
It will
Please
be
tell me
in
more.
personalization. It will be, everything will be personalized just for you. And, there's everything from Siri or, being able to tell you by your phone that your vital signs are not doing great that day, or your liver health is not amazing, or being able to have everything from customized supplements to customized meal plans to, regular checkups to be able to tell you, everything to a T from your genetic profile, but also having these home mirrors to be able to you just look in it and it will tell you whether you're about to have a stroke or not, and then call your loved one, whoever your emergency contact is, or tell you that you are pre-diabetic, your liver health isn't that great, and today you need to stop eating that and that and that. You're chronically inflamed. I believe the future of health is an exciting time because with the advancements of AI and technology and everything that we have been given today, we're so blessed to be to be a part of this future and to be a part of the next decades and where health is taking us. We can replace organs now or regrow organs now with stem cells. And things are they're changing so rapid, and at the blink of an eye, people will now be living past centenarians without even having to worry about health span anymore.
Where do you think this role plays for those? We have to paraphrase this or put this in the spot that knowing that you and I both are privileged to be able to even know this information, to know what's happening in the future. What role do you think understanding of the possibilities in the future plays for those that maybe aren't as privileged as us? What do you think is the biggest thing that we need to focus for those that may not be able to have access to the things that you and I have?
It's changing. I think the world is definitely changing in a sense that a lot of cultures and societies and countries that were less privileged of having things, there's a lot of people like you and I who are kind of providing education, providing workshops, providing opportunities for them to have a better world and have a better life. Our common friend Maria is one of them, and she's a great example for what she has accomplished and what she's managed to do with the Bangladeshi children. So there's so many pockets of different organizations and individuals like you and I who are branching out to all of these underprivileged communities to be able to help give them an opportunity to live better, live healthier, understand what it's like to have a better opportunity and then be given those opportunities. I think because of the advancements of everything that's happening in the world today, I think the way things were is no longer going to be with the way how things are will progress in the future, and that everyone will have access to a lot of the things that we feel that we're privileged to have today.
What would you tell your younger self, now knowing what you know now in the health space and the wellness space? What would you tell your younger self of what she need or need not do?
I mean, honestly, I do not regret anything that I've done in my life because it brought me to where I am today. And if I regretted anything, it wouldn't shape me to the person I am today. So the only thing that I would tell my younger self today is to not be too hard on myself and to accept failure as a chance for growth and to understand that failure does not define my self-worth or anyone's self-worth, and that all the traumas that I experience in life or that anybody experiences in life is only an opportunity for you to create a better life for yourself. So I would say, live, love, and, embrace the world as hard as you possibly can.
Live, love, and embrace the world as hard as you possibly can. That's gives me a little goosebumps there. That's beautiful. Who would you say is your biggest inspiration?
My father, definitely. Because a lot of his values and ethics and the way he looked at life definitely is one of the reasons why I do what I do today. He taught me that kindness is the most important human quality. And he said, with that, you can totally change the way people look at you and the impact that you want to create in the world.
And on the flip side, what's the biggest piece of advice that you've told your son? Or the biggest lesson you've shared with him?
So the biggest lesson that I told my son was, wow, I told him a lot of lessons. But I guess there were a lot of profound lessons, but I guess one that I would love to leave you with was the fact that there's no one in the world that can define you. and he grew up not in the best conditions because he had parents who went through a divorce and had to deal with, so many different things that came with a divorce. And he always questioned what love meant. And he never valued himself because he never thought he was worth anything, because he tied love to what his parents went through. And he grew up quite introverted and shy, and didn't feel that he had a place in the world. So my biggest advice to him was, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. Never be a victim of your circumstance, and never feel like all the trauma that you've experienced is the only thing that defines your character and the only thing that you have to bring to the table. I always instilled in him confidence, love, and care, because I knew that with that, and my partner Saul would always say that Austin has like a massively huge heart, and I think it's because he has such a big heart is because, being raised by a single mother, you automatically have this kind of feminine energy always with you too. But he is the kind of person that no matter how tough life is, and I see it in him now as a 21-year-old young man, is that he will always see the good in every situation. And I think in order to excel in any stage in life, that's the one trait that every human being should have.
Beautiful pieces of advice. I'm going to ask you one more. There will be, and there is, parents going to be listening to this, single mothers even. What's the greatest insight that you can share as a single mom that's gone through her own valleys to the top of the mountain of success, to even something even further, as we're going to ask you this question a little bit later? But what would be the biggest insight you'd like to share to other single mothers who are maybe in that transition right now, or just going through that journey?
I say this all the time, that broken adults raise broken children. And one piece of advice I would love to give every parent out there who's wanting to become a parent or are raising children right now is, don't take out your trauma on your children. That's the number one thing. Heal from them and become a better human so that your child can become a better human. And, I made a lot of mistakes in my 20s because I took out a lot of my frustrations and my trauma and the things that I didn't heal as my inner child on him. And looking back in hindsight now, and I didn't want to be a victim of my circumstance, and I wanted to heal, and I wanted to become a better parent, I realized that in order to even become a parent, you need to understand the responsibility that it takes to become that. Listen less to what society pushes on you. And if you feel that you don't have the capacity to become a parent right now, don't be. Learn to navigate your own life, heal from the things that you need to heal from, become the best version of yourselves so that you can become the best parent. And you owe it to any child that you're going to bring into this world, because we have a lot of messed up people, grown up adults. They're messed up for a reason, and they all harbor a lot of trauma. And a lot of them just want to become a victim of their circumstance, while others don't know how to get out of the hole that they're in. So just become responsible. First, heal yourself, and then bring another life into this world.
I'll give snaps for that. One of the greatest tools in positive psychology is something called the gratitude letter. And usually towards the end of every episode, I'd like to ask a person a certain question regarding to this. The gratitude letter is a letter written by hand, and it's usually for somebody that maybe you've lost touch with, somebody that you haven't said thank you to, or maybe that's somebody that you've had a fight with but never resolved it. And by writing this letter, there is a massive shift that occurs and growth in your body, both psychologically and socially. And what research has found is that by writing this letter and having this person read this letter in front of you, not only will you allow yourself your well-being scores to shoot through the roof, but give you this sense of gratitude, joy, and positivity in your body for 3 to 4 weeks. And so what I'd like to ask you is, if you were going to write a gratitude letter to somebody, preferably alive, who would that person be and why? And I'd love for you to say that onto the camera in front. You can take a moment to think about that. And
Like say the name on camera?
like who would you
say
write
the name
a
on
gratitude?
camera or say the name to you and then...
To the camera, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who would you write the gratitude letter to and why more than anything else?
So just not actually the actual letter. Just not the contents of the letter, just the name
and the reason why.
And the reason why. I actually would like to write a gratitude letter to my son, for sure, my 21-year-old son. Austin is his name. And the reason being is because I think the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in life is be a mom. Hardest. You're gonna make me cry. Oh my God, I've never been emotional like this in a podcast.
I have tissue, don't worry.
No, I don't want a tissue.
I'll get prepared just in case.
Yeah, the hardest thing that I think any person would ever have to do is definitely to become a parent. And yeah, I've had ups and downs in raising him, raising you, and I just love the fact that now, you know, he's a grown young man. You know, grounded, humble, has a wonderful heart. And even though I went through some crazy, you know, moments in parenthood and parenting styles, I managed to be able to excel at something which I had no idea on what I was doing at the time. He shaped me. He kept me grounded. He made me look at life in such a different perspective. And he made me appreciate, you know, health. He made me appreciate what it's like to lose someone. And he taught me what unconditional love meant. So yeah, grateful for him every day.
Making me cry from this. Like I haven't even met Austin, and I feel the love that you have for him, and I'm sure that he feels so much love for you too. Even I'm sure as a mom experiencing everything that you have to experience, especially as a teenager. But I'm sure there's moments in his days that he stops and thinks and looks into the sky and says, "Thanks, Mom." So
yeah, I sure hope so. I sure hope so.
I know so. Thank you very much for sharing that deep sense that you have of gratitude for your son and for sharing your journey with us. Where can people find you and the journey that you're in, and what's the most exciting thing that you're working on right now?
At the moment, I'm working on so many different exciting things, but we've recently launched the nutrigenomics testing, where we are able to give you an entire blueprint from a genetic perspective on the different nutrients that work best for your body, the nutrients that turn on your longevity genes, or it turns on the genes that cause disease. That personalization specific to you will really help you navigate your own health and where you want to get into life based on your health goals. So that's one aspect, and it's a very exciting project that we're working on with the goals to then be able to fully customize meal plans for individuals.
Because that's what Be That Dish is, right?
That is what Be That Dish.
Okay.
So people can find me on Mary Cristine. I am on Instagram, or on marychristine.com on my website. And then on Instagram, I have all my different brands on there. So yeah, that's the fastest way to reach out to me. Does
Be That Life have its own website and everything too?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. We have our own shop and things, yeah.
Excellent. Very honored to have you on my side of the fence in the show, because I know right after this, we're going into yours, which is kind of like a nice flip. But thank you very much for taking the time today to share your journey, to share the inspiration for becoming who you are in the now with me and the listeners that are here, and also for obviously taking care of me and Kika this past 2 weeks. Of course,
it's an absolute pleasure to have you guys, and we'll always welcome you over, and thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Mary Cristine, visionary founder, an inspiration, and a source of strength for many mothers out there and many kids as well. As we continue to follow her journey into the path of gut health, going beyond this region, but going into outer space even, we're excited to see what unfolds next. That said, this is another episode of Welcome to the Now with your host, Erwin Benedict Valencia. Thank you again for being here. Much love and gratitude. Don't forget, stay grateful.